Hey guys, this is just a warning for anyone out here. This episode contains mentions of spiders and torture via toenail peeling. Nothing too graphic, but I'll make a little noise and then you'll have like a little warning that that's coming up. Okay, love you. Mwah.
If you hear that noise, skip forward a minute, because I don't think we spend too long talking singularly about a in-depth spider description, but you'll be given a warning and skip a little bit of ahead. There's nothing really that graphic. We don't go into horrific detail. I think we go into more horrific detail about toenails than about spiders, but we do describe spiders at one point.
Yeah, so. You do get into a little bit of spider detail.
Bye!
Bye!
Hello and welcome to the Golden Wheel Tavern. It's so good to see you all again, and it's so good to see all the new faces coming in. It warms my heart, warms my soul, warms whatever it is beyond the heart and soul to see new faces coming into the tavern, sitting down and having a nice drink while we all chit-chat about various TTRPG topics. Speaking of having a drink...
So I've lied and decided we're just going to talk about this drink.
Oh, okay. I'm going to pass it over to the bartender who subscribed to Patreon, and you'll hear why I'm deeply confused.
I can change my mind whenever I want.
Okay.
That's an important thing for our episode later.
Oh, okay.
This drink goes by many names.
Uh-huh.
Bad imitation. Stolen idea. Throw out the name that you suggested earlier, because I definitely remember it.
The Illuminati special?
Yeah. Sure, you can copy my homework, but just change a few words so the teacher doesn't notice.
Evolving Wild versus Terramorphic Expanse.
Yeah. Either way, at the end of the day, this drink, I just copied a different drink recipe, but changed it a little bit, because that's Dungeons and Dragons, baby.
So, what's in this drink?
Well, if you look at a vodka cranberry, yes. Right, you would know that drink is made out of cranberry vodka and Sprite.
Yes.
This drink is made out of Sprite, vodka, and cranberry apple juice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So not quite a vodka cranberry. You took the idea of a vodka cranberry and changed it slightly in order to make it better fit what you wanted.
I took the idea of a vodka cranberry and said, well, I can't just make that and call it something else. Everyone will know that's a vodka cranberry. Guess I better change something.
Yep.
I can't just make my players go through Kingdom Hearts. They'll notice.
Now, everyone, I want you to take important note of this drink, because there's a good chance it returns in a later episode.
Or never again.
Or never again. But it could return. And then you'll know, dear listener.
Side note, I think it's much funnier the next time we do this drink on an episode.
Uh-huh.
I think it's much funnier if I just change it from cranberry apple juice to cranberry grape juice.
Uh-huh.
And then we just change all the names to something kind of similar. I won't remember that.
Lightning Bolt and Tarfire. Flying Men and... Nope, I don't know another 1-mana blue creature that's a 1/1 with flying. I should. There are so many of them, but I don't know any others off the top of my head. The only one I know is Flying Man. He has flying.
Not great impression.
Not great impression. Funhouse Mirror. That's our drink. Yep. So, I don't know, get yourself some grenadine. Not grenadine. Get yourself some cranberry apple juice.
Some vodka and some Sprite.
Some vodka and some Sprite. And have a drink.
Whatever ratio fits your heart the best.
Put a lot of vodka in it.
Or a little, if you're a weak little baby.
Or, you just don't drink that much.
Or 2 ounces, like a normal drink.
Yeah. So, that's our bartender's brew for the day. Now we move on to our Tales from the Tavern's tables. It's actually been a while since we've talked about the Saturday D&D group.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we talked about it, our druid got forcefully respec'd into a warlock, and I got a spell to let me send letters home.
Hell yeah!
Stuff has happened since then, but we're not going to go through all of it. We're just going to talk about your character becoming tethered to the land.
I'm a noble now.
A noble.
Like a major noble, not a minor noble.
Well, you're probably in charge of someone who does digging.
I'm gonna push you off the top of this tavern. Don't ask me how I'll get you there.
Uh-huh.
But I am gonna push you off.
Okay, you'll vortex warp me up there.
Uh-huh, like I did last session.
Yeah.
Not you, but someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, we needed a gem and the guy wouldn't just hand it over, so one of us had to become the new noble.
Yeah, we've discussed before the MacGuffins being a collection of gems.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was the Chaos Gem, and we needed to get the Chaos Gem from the Chaos Lord. And the thing the Chaos Lord wanted more than anything else was to go do what he wanted to do. But he was bound to this place.
Mm-hmm.
So someone had to take his place and be bound to that place in a similar way.
But it had to be someone with at least some kind of chaos about them.
And if only our party had someone who, like, their appearance could change at will, which is very chaotic, or they were like a weapons monger and, like,
weapons manufacturer,
a warmonger, and that helps proliferate chaos.
a self-defense provider.
Sure. You keep telling yourself that. Thomas/Callow / whatever your changeling's actual name is.
Yeah, because changelings is now a doppelganger. Instead of just a changeling.
Uh-huh.
Because that happened with the contract. Became a doppelganger.
Doppelganger, but has class levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, it's just changeling, but I can't be charmed, and I get, detect thoughts once a day or something.
Yeah, just a little bit extra power.
Yeah.
Which does pivot us into, now that you're the Lord of Chaos, into what I want to take away from that session, which is your character is now definitely, grounded in this world. They have something they're very much responsible for.
Yeah.
Which I think plays into the final decisions our party has had to make.
Yeah, because before this, the only thing, and this might shock some of you listeners listening, the only thing Thomas truly cared about is himself and his business.
Mm-hmm.
Not Penelope, not other Penelope. Because there's two Penelopes. One of them's the child that he kidnapped / was given.
Yeah. Adopted, that's a better term. Not even, and it pains me to say this, Lindahl. No!
I mean, he cares for Lindahl, but, Lindahl's his own person.
Yeah.
He's not responsible for Lindahl.
Yeah.
So now he has a town, and he kind of feels responsible for that, because it's a major city.
Yes.
He has to reestablish trade networks through, and rebuild businesses through, and protect from the miasma. Because you know what being the lord of a major city means?
Taking care of the city.
Free real estate, baby!
And
weapons
also
shops.
access to trade routes. And
access to trade routes for my bombs.
Your character finally has a tether to the fate of this realm.
Yes.
Which was, I think, important to how it really affected your final decision.
Yeah. I think without the tether, he probably would have been just kind of throw up the Band-Aid. Because the Band-Aid... So we had two options.
Well, we'll discuss that in further Tales from the Tavern statements.
Yeah, we'll discuss that later. At the end of the campaign, there's two options. One of them's a Band-Aid, one of them's stealing with it. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Before being tethered to the land, he probably would have been throw up the Band-Aid. People will need to keep buying weapons.
Yep.
To keep defending themselves from the monsters. The Band-Aid's just up. Because I know that we're probably the most capable people to solve this.
So what the Band-Aid is to Thomas is starting a never-ending war so that you can keep supplying
never-ending war
weapons.
Against monsters.
If you ask some people... That's exactly what it is, yes. So that you can sell weapons to the people fighting the war.
And not even necessarily a never-ending war. Just,
I'm willing to bet if the monsters had gold to buy weapons, you'd sell to them as well.
No, that would be bad for PR. Come on now, man.
Oh, okay. A company that you spun off a lot later would sell.
Yeah.
Got it.
But now he owns a town, kind of likes owning a town, doesn't want the town to die, so he's going with the more risky but permanent solution that's not a Band-Aid. Also, plus side, people are gonna come buy his weapons if he's these are the weapons that save the world. So
now that you have a tether, your decision has changed, and that shows that even mid-campaign, like we discussed this during, I believe we did an episode about like player hooks or that kind of stuff. Even mid-campaign, if the DM plays their cards right, you can still hook a player and pull their character in certain ways. Even if their character has tried to be flippant, give them something to care about.
Yeah.
And then you can guide them the way you want. What's funny is like my character's the only one who wanted to put up the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
But we'll cover that later, why Lindahl, the healer, is the only one who didn't want to possibly cure the thing.
Yeah. Although I do think it's fun that without Thomas, if Thomas hadn't become a noble, he would have been like, yeah, no, Lindahl's right. I think we should side with Lindahl. And this time he's like, you know what? Me and Saphira, we're on the same page for once. Lindahl, stop it.
See, what's funny is you siding with Saphira makes Lindahl like, no, I know I'm on the right side here. Versus if you sided with Lindahl, he'd be like, am I on the wrong side here? Anyways,
We're friends.
That's the tales, is mid-campaign, you can give your players new hooks, and if it's intriguing enough, your players will bite on, and you can reel them in. So, but an important aspect of that, being able to reel them in, is respecting what they care about, which is how I am just completely ungracefully pivoting
into our tavern's talking topic,
which is
safety tools.
Safety tools. Now, depending on how much this episode is listened to, there's gonna be at least one person in a comment or a tweet somewhere talking about how safety tools are, like, unnecessary and how they're bad for the game, or how, like, oh, it's just people being too sensitive nowadays. And, like, shut up. We will address that. Listen, D&D is about having fun, and I don't want to sit there and listen to you describe how you peel the toenails off this person to try to get information out of them. I'm not having fun in that scenario. So I'm sure it doesn't ruin your fun if you can't viscerally describe peeling the toenails off someone. And if it does, you need to be put on something stronger. And possibly go to your appointments a little more often.
Or you just need to get into, like, writing horror books.
Yeah. The safety tools are there for those who need them, and there for those whose fun it would increase. If it doesn't increase your fun, don't use it. Done. Now, what is a safety tool?
A safety tool is something that you use that gives players the opportunity and the empowerment to speak up when something uncomfortable has come up in game.
Yeah, they allow for communication.
Yeah.
And it's very, very nice to have. And in fact, it's not even necessarily in-game. We'll get to that. But the main thing is they ensure the emotional safety of the players. Now, once again, circling back to the old grumpy man, like, oh, so what? When things get scary, they're just gonna... No, because you'll discuss beforehand, we're playing a horror setting. There's gonna be things that are creepy, things that are unnerving, things that put you on edge. But there's a difference between that and me describing, like, body horror for 30 minutes as the DM.
Or, you know what? Fuck it. Maybe your player will throw out something when things get scary. Because maybe they forgot to mention they had a deep-seated phobia of something. And you describing it is going to make them have a panic attack.
I have a player in my group that I will never put in a Drider or a giant spider or anything like that into it because they don't want like they can do horror. They've run a horror setting. They ran a horror TTRPG for a couple sessions, but they just viscerally react to spiders. And that's not fun for them. So I'm not going to be like, yeah, you guys enter in and like down these walls crawl this giant thing and like you can see the gnashing of its mandibles and like, you know. And I just described this like horrific spider encounter. Now I'm trying to remember whether or not, because I know there was another person that I played with who that was like spiders was one of their big things. I'm not sure if the sorceress spiders is their thing, but I guess we'll find out when they listen to this episode.
In the sorceress in our current Saturday campaign?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I know that one, and then a player you never played with. Name was Zach. Also hated spiders.
Yeah.
So yeah, I won't put a spider in my horror setting, but I can still put like centipedes, or if I want to do like weird creepy crawlies, or I could do like just like you see this man driven to madness peel off his own face. Like I can still have creepy, horrifying things. I'm just not going to put in a spider.
Yeah.
Which the reason I know not to put in a spider is because of a safety tool called lines and veils.
Yes. So a line is something you don't cross. That is like spiders for some players. More common ones like, child abuse, assaults, stuff like that. The things your players have said, these are things that if you put them in the campaign, we are not going to have fun.
Yeah.
Veils are things that your players are okay with hearing mentioned, right?
Yeah.
In passing. Like you with torture.
Yep.
If you say, oh yeah, they take this guy into the torture room, you hear screaming.
Yeah.
You'll be fine with that. But if I start saying, they take this guy into the torture room and do all this horrific shit to him.
Yeah, and you start describing it, I'm going back, nope. No,
Yeah.
that's a no-go for me.
Yeah.
But if you just say, yeah, this man was tortured, or you hear somebody being tortured down the hallway, I'm like, okay, that's happening down there. That's fine. You pulled a veil in front of it. A common one among certain groups is like sex, right? The DM, like most groups, just practice a veil on that because they say, oh, curtains pulled, you have wild sex. Moves on. Like, there's not a lot of groups that are like, you take this woman and you're like...
if you're in like a kinky BDSM D&D group, first of all, hell yeah. Second of all, it might not be a veil in there, but, most groups aren't that.
Yeah. So you've probably already practiced using veils in your session. If you've ever just like somebody says they want to do something and you say, okay, that happens, move on. You don't go into a deep description of it. That's a veil. And you just, before the game really starts, so in session 0, everyone gives their lines and veils. And you're like, okay, cool. So I'm not going to have a giant spider show up, and I'm not going to spend 20 minutes describing someone having their toenails peeled off. That's just the torture method I've decided to focus on today, apparently. I know I shouldn't really mention spiders at all. And if I'm mentioning torture, it's just there's a guy being tortured, you hear the screams echoing down the hallway. End of that, moving on.
This is a side note with your preferred torture method this evening.
Yeah.
I know that, like, when that happens, it's more of like just a yanking or whatever. Because that's how they remove ingrowns.
Yeah.
Right? There's a snip and then they pull out the ingrown portion. But I keep imagining, like, peeling off a sticker on someone's foot.
I'm imagining... possible trigger warning for anyone who's like really grossed out by like feet or toenails or that kind of stuff. There were these commercials back in the day for treating athlete's foot. And like you have the little demon that would like lift up the toe. I'm imagining your toenail being lifted up and back.
Like a hinge.
Like a hinge.
Yeah, no, I'm imagining someone like at the cuticle like picking at it like you would like a sticker that's stuck on something you bought and then just peeling it off.
Okay.
Ah, shit, the sticky stuff's still left there.
You've probably already practiced veils, and there's probably some lines that you as a DM don't want to deal with. Like, I as a DM personally will never have like certain forms of abuse. That's just out the question. I'm not doing that. And if my players try to do that, I'm gonna be like, hey, no.
Yeah.
That's not.
Which is, really quick, I do think it's important for a DM to also communicate with their players, like, hey, these are my lines and veils. Don't expect this stuff to show up in the campaign.
And don't try to bring it into the campaign.
Yeah.
Because the DM has to have fun alongside everyone else.
Yeah.
Or else, don't DM. If you're not having fun DMing, don't DM. If you're not having fun playing, don't play.
Yeah.
So the lines and veils are established session 0. Start of the campaign. Right away. Important note, as a DM, you should always make it clear that lines and veils are not immutable. If someone wants to add something to either list, they can do that at any point, because if let's say a player gives me a line in a veil that's like, no, I don't know, no vor, and also no vor is a line, no, I don't know, killing dogs is a veil.
Okay, yeah.
And then later, like, there's like a cat that's being like murdered. They can be like, that's a veil. I don't want to see any animals, any like pets being killed.
Sometimes when you're put on the spot to come up with your lines and veils all at once, you may miss one or two things. Like if someone says, name every animal right now, go. You might miss a couple.
A shark, a fish. Damn, I'm out.
Yeah, see, I think he missed a couple, like dog and cat. That
oh, no!
Yeah, you just mentioned those.
I just mentioned those!
Yeah. No other animals, just shark, fish, dog, cat. That's all of them. But he missed 2 of them. 2 out of the 4 animals that exist. So, lines and veils may pop up mid-campaign. I always recommend just keeping a list of them.
Keeping a list of them, and them popping up mid-campaign is important to the next safety tool we want to discuss. Because I, as a DM, have once or twice, I don't know how many times, but at least once, made the mistake of not keeping someone's line or veil on my mind when I started describing something. So that player needed a way mid-game to say, hey, let's not deal with this, without necessarily like standing up and saying, hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's where a common tool has come up.
Yeah, the X card. The first time I experienced this in a group was with like my first real group. We never did like real full campaigns. It was kind of just like short things. The X card or X button as it was in this group, because we just drew X's on the like playmat near everyone and you'd press it like a button.
Yeah.
I would say that button was used more in that group than I've ever seen. But that's because the group also used it for, okay, this is a very funny joke, but let's get back on track.
Okay.
The joke is starting to go off the rails, guys.
Yep.
We're starting to get a little uncomfortable with the joke. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there because X cards, they can't, like, yes, use them for your lines and your veils. Also use them if you're just, like, a little uncomfortable with something, even if it's outside of game. If that's a way for you to communicate that makes you feel comfortable.
I'm going to take a page out of the book of, I think it is Warhammer Total Fantasy. The TTRPG, specifically 4th edition. I think that's the one that doesn't have an X card mechanic. They specifically label it as let's not. Which fits very well with what you've described. You're just like, hey, let's not do that. It's gentle, it is simple, but it's not, you're definitely not saying, hey, fuck you, we're not doing this. You're just like, hey, can we not go through this scenario right now? So, it's less of an X card, like Family Feud, wrong answer, X. And it's more like, hey, let's close out of this window, kind of X.
Will say in my first group, because like so often when we were hitting the X, we were laughing. When it came to hitting the X during more serious times, you didn't feel as bad about it.
Yeah.
Because 5 minutes ago, the person across the table from you was just hitting the X because of a joke going off the rails.
Yeah, X cards, especially if you phrase it more like a let's not card or like, let's move on card, works really well for just if somebody's uncomfortable, if the session's getting derailed, that kind of stuff. It helps keep things moving, so you should apply it often if necessary, So really, these lines and veils and this X card, they're both really good at moving stuff forward. The last one I want to throw out there is the stoplight, which is like essentially combines lines, veils, X card, that kind of stuff. And you can definitely have it like communicate this with your players. Essentially, it's just a safe word.
Yeah.
But like it can give you feedback. It also very much like if a player's like, hey, this is crossing my veil, they indicate red, whether that's a card you have in front of them or they say red. That's a full stop. Whatever's going on needs stop. Yellow, they can quickly communicate, pull a veil in front of this. Yellow, pull a veil, move on. We're not against, opening a door and seeing a man being tortured, but just say there's a man being tortured behind this door and move on.
Yeah.
Red would be, giant spider walks in. Red, please change it to something else. Sure, it can be a big scary monster, but just don't have it be a big spider. And then green would be more used like during downtime or like after session discussion as to, hey, this thing was really good. This worked worked well. I appreciate how this is working out.
Yeah.
So it's a modularity on the X card.
Yeah.
And essentially it's safe words.
And just to throw another system out there, I can't really talk about it in depth as I personally haven't used it, but it is the one described in Velvet Generation, a TTRPG we picked up and discussed last episode.
Yep.
It says it's mentioned in a couple systems in the book, but it's kind of like a pause, play, rewind type thing. Pause and play are very similar to the other stuff we've talked about. Velvet Generation only, I believe, talks about pause, play, rewind, and fast forward.
Yes.
But they do say, hey, this system was created by someone else. You can go look it up. You can get more specific with it. I just wanted to talk about rewind because that's not something we've thrown in here.
Right.
Rewind isn't necessarily a safety tool in the same way the rest of them are, because it's more for preserving the fun of the game, right? Yeah. Your player says something and they go, wait, rewind, my character wouldn't say that. Yeah. Can we roll it back? What they would say is this. Yeah. It's that type of thing. I just wanted to throw that one out there because it wasn't one we covered. Fast forward, that's, hey, this is a veil. Let's fast forward. Stop, that's a line. Can we not? And then go, like green.
Figure out the best safety tools for your group. I do want to mention something that was in a TTRPG that I heard about called Pit Crawler. I've talked about this before. Yeah. I'm not sure if you could work this as a safety tool, but it was a neat idea, and it was called Thumbs. You have 5 thumbs, because you actually have 5 fingers. And Pit Crawler, the idea is it's supposed to be similar to like a Choose Your Own Adventure book. And when you reach like a certain decision point, you can say, oh, I'm putting a thumb down here. And then, you flip and you read what happens. And if you die, you go back to your thumb.
Oh, yeah.
Similar. So you could do like a rewind like that. Or either, if you want to give your players a little bit of like mechanical power in regards to rewinding. Otherwise, the rewind is just very much like, hey, I said this thing, but it's not what my character would actually do. Can we go back and like redo that scene? Yeah. Which like a lot of times, if you're joking around with friends, you'll say something as a joke. Or like you'll have your character say something in the game that's like a pun on what someone said out of the game. And you're like, oh, wait a second, those don't actually line up.
As all my chronic daydreamers out there know, something happened in your daydream scenario and you're like, no. Let's go back. Redo that.
Wait, I lost that argument? Hold up.
Hold on. No. I don't lose this argument. This is my daydream.
Yeah. So, look into different safety tools. There's a lot out there. I personally use lines and veils and X cards. And then at the end of the session, I always ask for feedback. So that helps keep everything moving. At the end of the session, I can give feedback. And then mid-session, if I cross a line or veil, there's the X card. And then I have the lines and veils to keep certain things out of the way. And knowing those right off the bat, I can help shape the campaign to avoid those things. I can swap things out. So it's really, really useful. Utilizing them is extremely simple. Like, people are worried that like, oh, it's intrusive and whatnot. Legitimately, the X cards I have, I took a piece of paper, tore it up into rectangles, and put a big X on each of them. Yep. And then if somebody wants, they can put an X card in the center of the table. And that's it. That's it. And it's just a piece of paper in the center of the table. And it's like, oh, hey, yeah, okay. Somebody put out an X card. Important rule with X cards, you don't get to criticize someone for using an X card. Don't be a fucking prick. Yeah. But very easily utilized. The lines and veils are a passive thing. You as the DM need to keep that in mind. But that's just like, hey, don't do this thing. And that's it. Like, it's not like they're asking, hey, you have to somehow work in this 12-page plot and make sure it intertwines perfectly. You don't have to do that as a DM, but like it'll help you get hooks into your players. But it's just, hey, don't torture somebody for 20 minutes and force us to listen to you describing torture for 20 minutes. Yeah. They're very easy to utilize.
Yeah. I'm, especially at my now Thursday night table, my Friday night table has moved to Thursday night because that's more convenient for everyone. Just so the podcast knows that update when I say my Thursday night table, they don't think I have a new 4th group. I don't. Friday night has moved to Thursday night.
No, the 4th group gets to be mine.
He gets to have the 4th group.
I just have to figure out how to find time for a 4th group. I work second shift. My afternoons are taken up.
There, buddy.
Anyways.
There. I really like having X cards at my Thursday night table because I know my Saturday table, even though I don't run that right now, I trust everyone there to, like, say something, X card or not.
Yeah.
My Sunday table, I trust everyone to say something, X card or not.
Mm-hmm.
My Thursday table, not so much. I have people with anxiety, people who don't want to start conflicts, and one person who thinks that there is nothing in the world that they could hear that would make them squirm and feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So just having those on the table for me as a DM makes me feel better about the session. Because I know my players are empowered to say something, and they don't have to feel like they're making a big deal about it.
Right, and that's an important part, is it empowers the players, even if they don't use it.
Yeah.
An unused safety tool is not a wasted safety tool. It is still empowering to the players. Now, there's a secret safety tool we haven't discussed, because you should rarely utilize it. It is not something to use often.
No, it's kind of it's a sad time if you have to use the safety tool, but sometimes you have to for the good of the group.
If somebody is reducing or removing the safety of everyone else at the table, looking at you, Grumpy Man, typing in the comments at the start of this episode, then they need to be removed from the group.
Yes. And that goes whether they're reducing the safety in or outside of play. I had to kick a player out from my Thursday group before they could even really join. It was planned for them to join. They had to miss the first session. However, a conflict came up at work between them and some of the other players at that table as we all worked together. And something that was said to that player went and started gossiping about it to other people. It wasn't anything big or life-changing, nothing that was gonna ruin anyone's life, but it was enough to destroy the other player's trust in that player because, you know, a lot of playing Dungeons and Dragons is talking outside of game. It's your side chats, you're laughing, and a lot of groups, especially if they're really close, they start to talk about their personal stuff.
Yeah.
And my players no longer felt comfortable at that table if they knew that there was someone who might go and spread their personal shit around. Removing a player is not fun, but as a DM, it kind of falls on you to do so.
Now, I want to establish it does not fall on the DM alone, but the DM should be on board with the charge to remove the player.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to remove a player without the DM's approval.
Yes.
Simply because the game only runs because of the DM. So, once the DM is on board, communication is key. You have to talk. I know, listeners, you can't break up with somebody over text message.
You can, however, kick someone out of your TTRPG over it.
That's less important, but you do have to communicate that they aren't part of the group, and preferably you communicate why in some way.
Yes. Don't just say, hey, you're out of the group.
Yeah.
But the reason I say, as you as a DM, it kind of falls on you to do it, is because if one of your players goes up to this other player and say, hey, we all talked and you're out of the group, that player is going to come to you and ask, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
You're going to end up involved in the conversation and you have to be ready for that.
And it's best to be open and honest about your communication, but stay firm.
Yes.
Be like, hey, we've discussed it. You're not part of the group. What you did affected us emotionally and we no longer feel comfortable playing with you. We aren't hostile towards you. We just don't want to play Dungeons and Dragons with you.
Yeah, and I will say, if it's like a specific thing, don't mention names.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
Don't tattle.
Don't tattle. Don't say, yeah, so-and-so told me this, so you can't be in the group. Just say, hey, it was brought to my attention by another player.
You know, specific behavior trends, that kind of stuff. But don't be like, hey, this player said fuck this person. This player said fuck Walbrin Bongle. And
Well,
unfortunately, Wolverine Bongle is at your table. And,
that was just a mistake you made to let him in.
well, he seemed like he'd be a really fun role player.
Nothing about that man seems like he would be.
Another one of my... Listen, Barkus was sitting at the table and said he wanted to bring Wolverine in because Wolverine's his best friend. So we brought him in for a session. And, like, he was playing, like, a paladin. And he, like, was really intense about it. And we thought, okay, he's a really intense role player. And then he started saying some racist shit.
Yeah, and then we had to kick him out.
Yeah.
And then we had to have an intervention with Barkus.
The parallels. But communication is key, as always, removing a player or using safety tools. Communication facilitates fun, and once again, I have said it once, I will say it 1,000,000 times, D&D is about having fun. If you're not having fun, don't play D&D. No D&D is better than bad D&D.
Yeah,
and by
bad
that
D&D
I mean,
is the best.
And by that I mean that not playing D&D is preferential to playing D&D that you are not having fun with. Not that not playing D&D or that D&D that is not fun is better than all other forms of D&D. Now, on to not Max's Monster Minute.
I forgot to pick a monster, and I don't have a...
So we're going to talk about driders today. They're large half-spider. Which means, since we're not doing a Max's Monster Minute, we're moving on to the Quiz Ball.
Ready?
Quiz Ball.
Okay. In Dragonlance...
I already don't know.
Bertram belongs to which order of monks dedicated to Gillian, god of the book, who work in the great library of Palanthas?
Yeah, can you give me that question again, but make it make sense?
Yeah, in Dragonlance.
Okay.
Bertram,
Don't know him.
well, know him or not, he belongs to an order of monks that are dedicated to Gillian, god of the book.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I threw myself off by not reading the question word for word.
Okay.
Which order of monks is that?
Oh, okay.
They are also the monks who work in the great library of Palanthas.
Oh, okay,
That
okay.
helps. What order?
Yeah. That's the Order of the Blue Sands.
No.
Damn.
It's the Order of Aesthetics.
No, I'm pretty sure it's the Order of the Blue Sands. It's the Kobold Soul Monks.
What conjuration spell named after a Greyhawk wizard allows you to summon an item by crushing a previously prepared sapphire?
God, I have no idea what this might be. I definitely didn't cast it like 3 times last session. Oh, God. I mean, Greyhawk, we already established that's where Mordenkainen's from. Oh, my God. Well, I'm just going to throw a random... Let me mash on a keyboard real quick and see what I get for a name. I can't pronounce that. I'm just going to say it's pronounced Dromage. And then... instant summons. Dromage is instant summon.
Yeah, I saw that as an answer and I was like, hell yeah, we're doing this card. Hands down, that's the one.
Yeah, I cast that spell like 3 times last session. We'll get into it when we describe the end game of our campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And by like 3, I mean 2.
Who took over control of TSR from Gary Gygax in 1985?
Oh God, it was someone's like wife. It was one of the head people's like wife. Or that might be later. God, they covered this in of Dyson Man, and it's like he brought in these 2 guys who just like ended up taking majority control, but they didn't care much for the actual like TTRPGs. They just wanted to run a business, and then eventually got passed off to a person's wife. But I can't remember the guy's name at all. It's not Arneson and it's not Gygax. It's neither of those. It's the 3rd guy they brought in to help finance it. But what was his name? Brian.
No.
Damn.
Lorraine Williams. You were right about the wife thing.
Okay, so they're talking about the wife thing later. Okay.
Okay. And then, what is the name of the ancient city, ancient ruined city, that was once the capital of the elven lands of Comanthor in Faerun?
You're giving me impossible questions.
I'll give you a hint. I'm pretty sure this place was mentioned at some point during, like, our Adventure Link stuff.
The Nanthar. Myth-Nanthar.
Close.
Myth-Anther.
Myth-Dranor.
I'm gonna say that's a no on that one.
No.
It was myth something, but I can't remember what it was, so oh well. That was only 3 questions.
That was 4.
Oh, I'm forgetting about Brian Stoutarm.
Bertram?
Yeah, that's his name, Brian Stoutarm.
Yeah, you forgot about Monk Bertram, and then I did your favorite spell last session, and then I did history questions. And then I did throwback to the epic.
Yep. Okay. Well, then that's the end of the episode. Goodbye! And by that I mean, we'd really... Never mind, I'm not going to do a heartfelt call to action, apparently. And by that I mean I will. Listen, we appreciate every one of you who listens. And we appreciate any of you who spread the word of us in some way. Best way to do that is, of course, word of mouth. Tell other people about the podcast, because telling other people brings people in. Podcast spread by word of mouth, and hopefully this can become something a bit more than just a side little hobby that I do. But other than that, follow us on social media, like our posts, share our posts, spread the word through social media. In regards to social medias, you can find us basically everywhere at either the Tavern or the Tavernkeep's guide. You can recognize it by the profile picture being the picture thumbnail for this podcast. We're on Blue Sky, we're on Mastodon, we're on Tumblr, we're on Twitter. Yeah, a lot of T's. So Blue Sky, Tumblr, Twitter, Mastodon. You can find videos uploaded to YouTube. We also occasionally make posts on TikTok. So basically every decently sized social media. We're not on like Be Real or like some of the weird super niche ones, but we're on a decent handful. To support us financially, your best option is Patreon. Go to patreon.com/thetavernkeepsguide. Subscribe there if you want. $5 and up, you get the cold intro, cold outro, any sort of side conversations I decide to cut, that sort of stuff. You get essentially the extended version for $5 a month and up. There's some other perks. You can join the Discord. And really, if you like it, share it. Let people know about it. We really appreciate it. We appreciate every listen, and we appreciate all the spreading by word of mouth that any of you do. It means a lot to us, both of us, because we love doing this, and we'd love to spread our love in regards to TTRPGs or D&D. You know, we enjoy this. So, as always, thank you, and make sure to tip the barmaids.